so happy. I'm so happy, I was just saying, and I am so happy. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Phoenix Rising. My guest is a repeat offender.
Yes, I
Yes,
am.
yes. Isabella Randazzo. And I'm so happy you could come out today. And we've been blessed with a gorgeous day to take the ride out. We both made great time.
Absolutely.
And sitting in this beautiful LTV studio, the energy here is so lovely.
I think well, the last time I was here, obviously, it was in the other studio.
Yes.
Which is now Studio
Through the
2.
door, yeah.
This, I think, is absolutely beautiful, and it just gives it a sort of, it's uplifting, this one, isn't it?
It
With
really
the wooden
is.
background. I feel like I'm out somewhere out west.
Yes.
The photo
Here we
there
are
in
at a
the
spa,
background.
you know.
Yes, in the spa, yes.
We're at the spa today.
If only, right?
Yes.
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 So we've decided to call this show Vibrations because it covers a myriad of places that we go. And if you've been watching the show even for a week or two, you know that the conversations start one place and that they just sparkle off in all different great directions.
Yes, they do. The
So-
vibration brings you there, doesn't it?
It does.
Yes.
And speaking of vibrations, we knew something was going to happen. I was very blessed to meet a very precious woman and her grandson. So I won't do full names, but Becky, this is for you. And how vibrations, how our guides and angels kind of give us a push in a direction or a pinch, you know, and it is all vibrational energy, you know, sound and everything. So this darling woman, Becky, called me, it's a little over a month ago, and I didn't get to call her back right away, so it was a day or two later, and I called her, and loved her voice, like that energy of her voice, that vibration of her voice it was just lovely. It was like almost like a remembering when you think about it afterwards. And I said, how did you find me? Which is something I ask most
Usually,
people. And she said, I saw you on TV. And I'm like, oh, goodness, what show did this poor woman get to see? Because some of them are just, oh, my goodness, shows. And she, in the work that she does a lot of babysitting, which is, to me, that's amazing. You have to have the patience of a saint and a heart that is so full all the time to do babysitting, especially when you're over the age of 50. Let's put it that way. Your patience tends to dwindle down. But so she said she saw me on TV, and I don't know what show, and then she saw it again, and I believe it was the third time. She said, okay, Spirit, I've got it. I have to get in touch
Reach
with this
out.
woman. And Becky is of the Shinnecock Nation, and I have so much to learn from her. What an amazing individual. So we chatted on the phone, and she came to my office, and meeting her in person, it really was a remembering. It was just awesome. So she wasn't there. She wasn't getting a Reiki session or anything. We sat and we talked about spiritual work that she was involving me in, which is just goes to my core. And we're sitting and we're chatting, and I somehow in conversation, how that vibration of that guide who I didn't know was with me that day comes through, and I said something about my mentor, Ron Boyd, who was one of my angels along with Scott. And Becky sits back and says, Ronald Boyd from Riverhead.
Oh, dear.
And I said, yes.
Small
She
world,
says,
obviously.
my cousin.
Oh.
And Ron passed a number of years ago due to cancer. And he was my mentor. I met him, oh my gosh, had to be in the 1980s. And I went to him for a reading. I was very involved in Al-Anon at the time. And a woman came to an Al-Anon meeting, and we were just chatting at the coffee break. And she said someone sent her to this gentleman who's a psychic medium, amazing individual. And she never believed in it, but he was so focused, and messages came through so beautifully. So I said, oh, I haven't sat with anyone since my friend Mercy when I lived all the way up the island. And she said, well, I'll give you his number, and you have to give him my name, similar to you, to come through referral. She said he will not take anyone off the street. And I called him, and I got there, and his first reading with me was amazing. He said, bring with you a piece of jewelry that only you have worn, that I might hold. So this is my lion's head ring,
Okay.
and I'm the only one that's ever worn it. So I gave it to him, and we sat across his little kitchen table, and he went into a trance, and I was fascinated because I had never seen someone just make room. And he started speaking to me in Yiddish and calling me the names that my mother's mother used to
So
call
he was
me.
very much tuned into it.
And he was calling me the name she called me as I was a little bullicle, a little bull. And it was my grandmother speaking to me through this precious man. And I started to cry. I have goosebumps again. And he came back very quickly and he said, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to make you cry. I said, oh, it wasn't bad tears. I'm so sorry, that I startled you, but it was so beautiful and so emotional.
Yes.
And I will never forget this. And it was so many years ago. And he said, oh, my goodness, I don't have tissues. And he brought me a roll of blue toilet paper. Now, for many of you, that you're not familiar with that, toilet paper used to come in colors of pink, blue, and yellow.
Yes.
Not anymore. So that's how long ago it was, his stash of blue toilet paper. And from that, a friendship grew. And he became ill, and he went through his cancer journey. And I didn't see him for a while before my naming ceremony and after. And his brother, the Boyd family is a very big family. His brother is, Craig, is a musician. They used to call him the dancing cop in Riverhead. There are newsreels about him and everything. And he was doing a concert at the Vale Levitt Theatre. So I went with Surya and our friend Mary, who's also from Scotland.
Right.
And Ron was there, and Surya said to me, go up and talk to him. And I said, no, I don't think he remembers me. And everyone's surrounding him, and I did have a crush on him for many years, too. I'll show you his picture later. And Surya said she was going outside with Mary. Mary was going to have a cigarette. And if I wasn't talking to him by the time they came back in, she was going to drag me over to him. And it was like, oh, gosh. And I was like, I don't know where I got shy, but I became very shy all of a sudden. And it was like the parting of the sea. People just separated. I was here, and Ron was there. And he walked over, and he gave me this beautiful hug. And he said, so, Redhawk, how's everything? And I said, how did you know? Because the naming ceremony was July 18th, 1999. It was just very few people. Everyone we had the four corners, and Lakota ceremony was done. And how did he know? So, and I said to him, how did you know? And he said, we're following you, not in a bad way. He said, and we're so proud of the work you're doing. And I still get really emotional when I think of that.
That's a beautiful gift to be given.
So, and then when he passed, we went to the going home ceremony. And when I'm talking to Becky, and I would say, your cousin was such an important part of my life. I remember he came into Green Earth one day, just before the Reiki circle, to give me a heads up to avoid a certain individual. Described her perfectly. He was on his way to go have dinner at Diggers, and he couldn't until he told me. And I said, but this is so-and-so. And he said, Spirit really doesn't care who they are in this physical life.
Okay, he's just giving you the heads
This
up.
is the heads up,
Your
and
choice.
he was right on. So I know, and Becky knows, that Ron came through to put us together. And 2 weekends ago, I went to the reservation with her on Sunday. And
It's an
what an
interesting place.
honor and what a blessing to be brought back to her grandson's home. And how vibration and information come through. So we have this connection of this, to me, this beautiful, enormous, yet so gentle vibration of Ron putting us together to bring me into this sacred space on the reservation, because we know how I feel about what's been done to these people. I won't even go into that right now.
We're not going there today.
And so normally, if I bring out any cards, I usually let the person hold the cards, get your energy on it, and deal it. And it was very different this day when Becky was in the office. It was may I pull a card for you? For your grandson, who I will not say his name, but I want to get him into this because his name is very unique and people would know immediately. And she said, "No, go right ahead." So it's ancestors cards and the artwork on these cards like you have. They're just so beautiful.
Yes.
And so I'm shuffling and we're talking and I pull a card out and it is the guardian of the flaming sword. The artwork was stunning. And now Becky's looking at me like, and it was like, what? Well, she told me her grandson's name in Shinnecock, which is, it sounds like music when she says it. So I told him, and I need this, Becky, to write his name down for me, how to say it phonetically.
Yes.
So it turns out that this precious grandson was born during a Pleiades meteor shower. And his name translates to something, I won't get this 100%, so please forgive me, translates to child of the flaming arrows.
Oh,
Born
with the
during
meteor shower,
Pleiades.
yes.
And here it was, Spirit, I believe it was Ron, came through and said, this is the card you're going to pull.
This is a connection too. This is, again, it's for a
How
larger
beautiful.
purpose.
Yeah.
And you're not sure what's opening as yet. But there
No.
definitely is. That's a reconnection. It's not a first time connection. It's a reconnection
Yes.
with you and the people that are coming around you again.
Yeah,
So
it was
it's the
like
soul
being in
group.
Africa with you.
Yes, yes.
It was, for me,
Although
that was
we
going
we
home.
left each other at the airport.
Yes,
we met
we
up
did.
at the airport.
Yes, we tried to meet up at the Maasai Market,
That's
and that didn't
correct.
happen.
But
You
you
were there
didn't.
earlier that
I
day.
was there earlier that day. But yes, so the journey continues. But the strange thing is that when we talk about vibration and we talk about our guides and our connections to spirit, we are constantly surrounded. We know that.
Yeah.
And every thought that we think is a vibration that is leaving us. And you're finding that sometimes you're sitting there and you get a feeling of someone thinking of you, whether it be good or bad. The connection is made. So this is the vibratory wave that carries thought process, not just words or music or sound, but actually thought also has its vibration. And when you find your own guides, now I know I have one, I think I told you about it before,
Yes.
that when he shows up, and he showed up this morning, it was the strangest thing, I feel like I'm 10 feet tall. I'm looking down from a high, and I just know, thank you, wherever you are, I'm here, and you're
And
here
they're with
me.
you for the ride out, for everything,
Yes,
to
yes.
let us know that they're there.
For different, again, we have guides for different purposes. So whatever it was today, it was just like, it felt good because let's face it, what we've gone through recently with the COVID, and now we're in 2022 and we're still thinking not another one, please not another strain. And we've got to get back into our life again. It's like we've been sitting in a cave somewhere and the vibrations are beginning to get dimmed. I think we need all to sort of get out and
to
shine.
brighten it up.
Yes, we need to get out and do. So your call to me, the connection that was made was, that's what I need. I need to be able to have a connection, get out of the door, get out of I'm doing a lot of work at home.
Right.
My clients at home on phone more than anything. I don't bring them to my home. And I think that we've all had our energy sort of pulled in. That makes sense. Normally,
It does
when
make
you're feeling,
sense.
you're very, your energy field will go on forever. But recently I've been feeling that it's just been pulled in. And I'll give an example of vibration when we talk about that. I have a neighbor next door, and we used to go walking a lot. And if I had been working particularly, doing my work during the day and the evening, when we walked, as we walked under the street lamp, it would go out.
I love when that
And
happens.
you've heard of that
yes.
happen.
Oh, yes.
And to begin with, she looked, and I didn't say anything, because I know that when I've been doing the work, your energy field is so much more powerful and higher. And the lights, each light we went past, went out. And she said, "Oh, Izzy," she's Russian, "Oh, Izzy, this is frightening." And I said, no, it's just, it's we all have our energy field.
Yeah.
If you look around behind you, they're all back on. And they do. Once you pass through it, they're back on. But this is how our energy field meets up with that field from the electric lights or whatever
It's
they
like
are.
waves. It's like with the
It's-
ocean
yes.
coming in or the bay coming in and those ripples.
Yes, but the fact that they do actually close down is amazing. Just and you know that your own electromagnetic field
Yeah.
is really being vibrant. So when she didn't bother after that, I did explain to her that we all have that, and it's just a case of if we've been doing specific spiritual work,
Yeah.
then you're actually expanding your field.
How did she deal with
And
that?
well, to begin with, no, she was a little weird because she thought I was weird because of the work I do. People do tend to think
Yes.
that it can be a little strange, but she knows me by now. But it was very strange. I remember her looking frightened. And I'm thinking, oh dear, what does she think? That somebody's going to jump out of the woods beside them? Because
Right, it's like-
I'm into something and I'm putting the
Yes.
lights out for them.
Well, people will
yes.
tease me. We were having breakfast at this Kenny's on the Green, which is a wonderful place. It's up at the Indian Island Golf Course in Riverhead.
Oh, I
And
used to play golf there.
It's just absolutely lovely. We have breakfast there most Sundays. And Kenny, who is a character, was teasing me, and it was just a group of us there, just our one table at this point. So he was sweeping up, and I made an obnoxious comment to him, so he may believe he was flying on the broom around the room. And he said, "Is this yours?" I said, "No, mine is Turbo." You have
Parked
the old model.
outside.
You have the
Parked
old
outside,
model.
yeah.
But it's the vibration of like when you walk into a room, the people that you're attracted to, you know, and the music that you want to listen to for the day or for the afternoon. You know, it's like what's coming into you and what are you putting out there?
Well, what you're attracted to is what you're generally lacking, in a sense, when it comes to the vibration and music and the tone, because we know that each chakra resonates with the musical notes. So if you're tuned into that, then you can get an understanding of what needs to be, balanced out and given some extra work there. So, and the same with people that you are connecting to. It's the yin-yang principle. It's not, we don't have two yins coming together. It's the yin-yang that really makes that connection, that flow. If you have two yang coming together or two yin, they may have a connection and then pass very quickly. It's not going to have that infinity flow. So when we look at everyday life, if we were really to sit down and do it minute by minute, you'd really begin to see how vibration and energy is a constant with us. It brings us messages and it gives messages from us to others.
And it has a pattern to it. Yeah.
Yes. Well, the infinity, I always felt any energy work is the infinity symbol. And that was when that was sort of connected to begin with, the start of a session. At a certain point, then I knew that I could flow with it. And then it became like Celtic knots.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. But I think what we tend not to realize, most people, is just our magnificence. They say, "Oh, I've got an aching back today. Oh dear, I hate myself today." And
Or
all
it's
this.
quote unquote, it's killing me.
Yes, well, whatever it is, it's killing you, yes. But there is no death, so that's a good thing.
Right.
Nothing can kill us because there is no death.
No, this vehicle wears out,
Yes.
and you go home for a bit.
Well, and you decide when to come back.
Yeah.
But the most important thing too, the analogy I make is, it's a vehicle. We choose our vehicle. We even give it shape.
Yes.
We give it everything. It's just like people say, "You mean I chose this one? Oh no, I would have wanted to be
The Mercedes or the
thing."
Lamborghini.
And yet, when it comes down, the vehicle starts coughing and sputtering, and it's really an old vehicle now. And we still have light soul inside, but we recognize that the vehicle is coming to the end of its days, and we don't remain in the vehicle as that end is coming. And I would say to people, you would not take your car, you wouldn't drive an old car down to the knacker's yard and drive and say, no, I'm not leaving it, put me in the crusher with it. It just wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
And that's where people think of death, that whatever the thinker of the thoughts is going down to with it. And that's the most important thing. We wouldn't sit in the driver's seat as it was going in for its final,
No.
you know, doing the
Squishing.
whatever it is.
I don't know what the other word would be
final,
for it.
you know, dispensation period. And I think that they make it the message there, you know, that you're right. And when I would say to them that you're out of your body every night, you leave your body every night.
Yeah.
You do not hang around because you do not need sleep. The physical, the vehicle, tends to need its naps.
Yeah.
But we are up and about and out in the universe.
And it's when messages are really important to come through to you. Sometimes you feel like you need to take that physical nap. And what you said just now just reminded me of something that I haven't thought of in, has to be over 35 years. So that's another vibration. Something we were discussing earlier, would we have a topic today? What would the topic be? And here we are, vibrations. Thank goodness it covers everything. But this is also back in like maybe 1985. I was living in Hampton Bays, and I had a very close friend, Debbie Clayton, who has since crossed over. And she lived down the road from us. We lived where it was still paved, and she had this precious little house on the dirt road. And our sons met in school, and her son said to my son, our mothers have to meet because they both sound like they're crazy, and they both have Akitas. I had
Oh, the hound, yes.
My beautiful babies. So we were chatting, and I had a difficult marriage, as many people do, and there was just this overwhelming need to take a nap. There was no way to stay awake. So I was in my living room, and we had a love seat and a sofa, and I lie down, and I truly thought I was awake. And I don't remember very much of it, but I remember, as real as you and I are here, and how real is that? It could be an energy on a
All the
very other
molecules
level.
are together at the
Yes,
moment.
together, and we could really be by location somewhere else at this point.
Generally we are.
Yes. So in this thing, I was not napping. The body was resting, but my true essence was out there, and I was at my coffee table. Debbie was sitting on the other side of the coffee table, and we had this very interesting discussion of her telling me that she wasn't going to be here very long, and I couldn't comprehend it because she was younger than me.
Yes.
That she was telling me that she was going to be leaving the physical plane soon. Great conversation, and whatever amount of time, it was like all of a sudden there I am on the couch again, and I was like, wait a minute.
Your souls met up.
Debbie was here.
Yes.
And I called her on the phone. It was way before cell phones. And I said, where were you just now? And she said, I was just going to ask you that. She said, I'm upstairs in my bedroom taking an uncalled for nap. And I said, how interesting.
Yes.
I was in my living room taking a nap that there was no denying it. There was no getting away from having to do that. But her higher self needed to tell my higher self, let's enjoy our physical time here as good sisters of the heart and friends, because it's almost time for me to go home. You know, just amazing.
It's funny you say that too, because it's as though they're saying, sorry you can't make it. You know, sorry you're still having to hang on to this body because I'm getting out of here. I had a client, I still have a client, who's a gentleman who went through the Vietnam War and had suffered trauma forever. And he had been referred to me by one of his counselors, I think. And I remember talking to him about when Vietnam, he got out because he was injured, but he had this guilt complex still. You know,
Survivor's guilt?
Survivor's guilt, entirely. And he hadn't been to visit the Vietnam Wall. He had 3 friends there that he never heard from ever again. They didn't live around the corner, but they had met up in. And he said, I just felt that they had probably passed, and I had been brought home, and it was so wrong and whatever. And I said to him, you know, actually, if you look at it from a totally different perspective, when that bomb went off or whatever it was, if these three men happen now to be caught up in that, they're probably all getting together now, the souls of them, and they're saying, hold on, 1, 2, 3, where's,
Yeah.
where's, and I said the name and I shouldn't have.
It's not.
Okay, no, I don't like to put my
I know.
client's name in. And one of them was saying, he didn't make it.
To be on the other side, to
Yes.
go home.
Oh dear, he didn't make it. And then he sort of lit up a little.
Yeah.
And I think the important thing that sort of made sense to him.
Yeah, he
That
understood
they're free.
that. They're
free. They
fine.
weren't left if that were the case.
Yeah.
And it's just how Spirit would say, oh dear, she's still going to be hanging out down there for a
Yeah,
bit.
it's not hard to
She
bring her
didn't
home.
make it. And that's it. So rather than him saying they didn't make it, I feel there, in actuality, they're saying no, he didn't make it.
Yeah. He's still stuck in this physical thing, this school.
Well,
these
he's a wonderful
lessons.
person. I mean,
Yeah.
he came along in leaps and bounds, and he is heart, all heart. And it's just that he turned the corner, and now he's a highly spiritual man.
Yeah.
And it's just a wonderful lightening of him, because when I first met him, he really felt the burden was
It
there.
was hard.
And now he's a magnificent,
Yeah, there's a.
wonderful man.
It's amazing how that horrible experience.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the pressure and turned him into a diamond heart.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Oh,
a
sure.
friend I haven't seen in quite a while, and he lives in Massachusetts. Also had to be part of the Vietnam War,
Mm-hmm.
and he was impacted horribly by Agent Orange.
Mm.
So, oh my goodness, I haven't seen him in quite a number of years. But when we first met, you know, talking about Reiki, and he met these chiropractors that helped him heal from Agent Orange.
Mm-hmm.
They did many, many different types of cleanses with him to get it out of his body because it was killing him.
Absolutely.
And when I met him, he had to keep putting these salves on his body because it was coming through the clearings and the detoxes he was doing was having the Agent Orange come through his skin. And he suffered terribly, but also became extremely spiritual. He does a lot of energy work, a lot of healing work, and he uses different modalities. He uses these rings that he puts under your chair and, you know, magnetic things. And he's just so pure about it. He's also Native American. I do not remember the name of his tribe. And I remember when he came out to visit once, he was looking because his grandmother, on whatever side it was into hoodoo.
Oh, that's not
So
usually
they-
Native American, is
They
it?
do. No, that was
No.
the part of the family that's not Native American. And that part, the hoodoo, they do animal sacrifices,
Oh dear.
which I didn't know anything about. And he had said something to me. He said, well,
Oh,
he said, before I get the ferry to go back, can you tell me where I could get a live rooster?
Oh my goodness.
And I said, you mean you want to buy a chicken? You know, you can go. He said, no, I need a live rooster
Oh,
from my
God.
grandmother. And I said,
I'm
I
getting
can't.
upset at the thought.
I said, I can't. Sorry, Ricky, I can't. I can't
No,
be a
no,
part
no,
of
no,
it.
no, no, not
If
at
that's
all.
her belief system and your belief system, I can't go there.
I just don't resonate with that at
No,
all.
not
Anything that's
not a
harming,
bit.
yeah.
But once in a while, he'll, you know, jump in on Facebook and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, doing what he does. And
The
I'm,
thing is, do you know what we just said? He became very spiritual. We are spirit.
I
So
think,
there
don't
was,
we
we're
forget?
actually, you know, shedding these layers that reveals the spiritual soul that we are.
Yeah.
So I think what we're here to do is to live as spirit.
Mm.
And when we have, you know, when in the Christian side, when they say, "What would Jesus do?" You know, they have
Yes.
those, and the same on the spirituality aspect is, "What would spirit do?" You know, if you're asking a question of yourself, say, "What would spirit do?" Because then you're getting right to the core of you.
Yes.
Because we're basically shedding all the time in order to become that light being.
That we
On
really
the,
are.
from the inside, it comes out. And you'll find the people that you meet, there are certain people you meet, and the light comes in the door before they do.
Oh, definitely.
And you know they've done a lot of shedding over the time, and they're really there to inspire others to do the same. I think that's what it's about.
You had met my friend Diane de Blasi.
Yes,
one
she
that
came to visit for she came for a reading.
Yes,
Diane, yes.
the one, and she had passed away.
Yeah,
I
she
guess it's
passed
about
away.
yes.
Yes.
So
She gave me a book, I believe. Did you write a
yes,
book?
she
Yes,
wrote a
gave me
beautiful book with her
Yes.
photography.
Yes.
So Diane, an amazing young woman, and her daughter Kiana passed the year before she met me. So she became my student. We became friends. What a darling. And she would come to the Reiki circle that we have out in Green Earth in the health food store back in the day. And there was this other young man that would come, Daniel, who also had passed away. Daniel was the victim of a hit and run in Riverhead. And because Daniel was different, the police really didn't do a full investigation to find the people that ran him down. He was, in the spectrum. He was one of the most precious beings. When he would sit in the Reiki circle and you would go into a visualization and a journey, Daniel, we were talking about him the other day, would just light up because
he was light.
He was the light. And he would tell, when everybody would come back, you had the option, did you want to share your experience or not? Some people would say they saw these beautiful colors or they saw a relative. Daniel's mother usually appeared for him.
How wonderful.
And his parents passed when he was quite young, and he was already diagnosed in the spectrum. So Daniel went to live with his brother and his sister-in-law, and then his brother passed.
Oh, wow.
But his sister-in-law did not put him out.
Wow.
So he lived there with his niece and his nephew, and he could take care of himself. He could never drive or whatever. And then he was in a terrible accident before we met him at the Riverhead traffic circle. A woman, another hit and run, and because of however it worked out, she was the wife of a Riverhead police officer, so they kept it under the carpet. Good old town politics.
Oh, sure.
But it was a large financial settlement which allowed him to buy his own home in Riverhead.
So at least he had that. He had his
He
own
had his
sanctuary.
own home.
Right.
He had the health food store. He had Reiki. And those
He had
of us
happiness.
that were blessed to know him,
Yeah.
knew him. He would sit at the Reiki circle and he'd start giggling toward the end. And you'd ask him, okay, Daniel, where were you? What did you see? He said, well, my mom came by. And we had a really lovely talk. He said, and then these bunny rabbits. And he had an experience once where he was sitting with the Buddha.
Oh, sure.
And how the Buddha was eating fried chicken. And it was just the things that Daniel experienced and that he blessed us with hearing.
Yes.
But a person came to see me this past Saturday that I haven't seen in a very long time. And she had been here in LTV when Joe and I did a few of the Ouija board things. And her daughter was our scribe, and Iris would take notes. So she came in with her friend to get ears candled, and she lay down on the massage table, and she said she felt like touches here. And I said, well, I'm never alone doing any of this work.
Sure.
They're all here. It's wonderful. And she asked about Diane and Daniel, the two people that had crossed over. And she said, isn't it interesting that I didn't ask about anyone else?
But those two.
Those
Yes.
two.
Yes.
And I said, that's the vibration of Daniel and the vibration of Diane's essence being here. They wanted you and I to know that they're
They were
here.
there. Yes. They're
And
part
that's
of the group.
why do you think you asked only about
Yeah.
those two?
Oh, no, there's no random anything. There really isn't.
No.
There really isn't.
And they didn't need to do like what Joe Giaquinto talks about they didn't need to go into the sound vibrations to pick up words to speak to you and have it recorded. Just that nudge on the back of your leg
Yes.
and the back of your arm was, now I'm going to have you think of me. you know,
Yes.
Phoenix, have you heard from this one? She passed.
Yes.
And she's really doing wonderfully.
Absolutely. It's a magnificent. You see, that's the other thing when you say there is no death, and there is no
You
death.
remember those shows we did in Riverhead? The
Oh, I'm
3
sure.
shows that we did on death and dying.
Okay.
Because
yes, I
in
believe,
this
yes.
culture, people think it's, well, if I die. No, honey, not if. When?
You won't.
So, and celebrate
yes.
this life.
I think
This
that's,
death is,
we need that.
it's this vehicle
Mhm.
has served its purpose.
Mhm.
It's been your vehicle for whatever, took you to the lessons, took you into the city or whatever.
Mhm.
You don't need the vehicle to do that anymore.
Yes, but even the bigger layer of it all, you're right, we know, we've talked about this all the time. You
Yes.
write your own book of life. Let's put it that, your blueprint. There is a beginning, there is a middle, and an end. And we write it to the end. And we have our date of arrival and the date of departure. And not just date, you know, everything is in alignment. So
Right.
they talk about this, you know, there's a certain time when you arrive here, the aligning of the stars and the planets. And at the end, the manner in which you leave this life is also in that story.
Yeah.
And that brings a lot of people saying, oh my God, this can't be. My daughter committed suicide, or my son, whatever goes on. And you realize, but there is a balancing of the scales. And it's not looked upon as a bad thing. Nothing, we keep
It's
saying,
not bad.
nothing is either good or bad, yet thinking makes it so. We think, we bring ourselves in, the ego aspect brings in a lot of thoughts to the head. It resides more in the head than anywhere.
Oh, definitely.
And therefore, that's when the separation comes in, you know? Someone comes walking in the door and someone says, no, I can see that. I just know what she's going to be like.
Oh.
And the other one said, well, what I see is just a nice new person in our group, and
How
just
we
open
see
the
things
door.
so
But how
differently.
you express it too. So just talking about all the different vibrations that come into our life, and even life itself. When Spirit says that live in the now, everything is happening in the now.
Yeah.
And people see this as, you know, this is the past, this is the future.
Totally separate, and it's not.
No, but not even in the straight line. There is no line. Everything, if you stand there and really do a standing meditation, make sure you have something if you fall forward. or
Yes,
anything,
yes.
But to actually connect with the root of all that is. And you will find yourself spiraling from underneath your feet right the way through your central column, and the spiral shifts at the heart, and then it goes in the other way.
Yep.
And in spirit. And that is beneath you is the lives you have lived. And they're still active.
It's still happening. Yes.
Well, it's like this.
Yes.
This is how it goes. So therefore, if you're looking, when we talk about past life regression, your past life can so easily be, when everyone talks about go within, everything is within you.
Yes.
It's the truth. We will go out there searching, and when you're younger, you do, don't you? I must
Oh
go
my
and sit in
gosh,
this.
yes.
And I did that. I was a teenager, and I sat in my first circle. I was very happy. I was 16. I was brought into this circle. Oh my goodness, it was amazing, and it made sense to all the things that had happened before. I finally got the connection, and then when I was pulled into, invited by my first mother-in-law into healing.
Yeah.
And feeling the vibration there and the energy flowing. It just is, this is life. This is who we are. We are living. That light is a living light, but it's not the physical form
Not at
that
all.
it is. So I think that we really, the best thing we can do for any person coming to us is to first of all let them know how magnificent they are, that their magnificence is beyond anything they can imagine.
Yeah.
And they'll say, oh no, not me, it's school, you know, this is what they said about me and this is what happened. And I think at this point in the universal timing, we are at, a lot of people are coming to that central point of I need to know more.
Yeah.
Because I've seen death and you know, people dying at all different things, and what they call terrible loss. And you've got to catch them because there is no loss and bring them to the understanding
Right.
that, in fact, they're probably upstairs, as we would call it, just saying, oh my God, Sunday here again. Oh,
Yeah.
look at that. We've got a chair for you. God knows when you're coming
Yeah.
up. We have that chair ready. So we've got to lighten it up because we've been
we
very
do.
heavy, haven't we,
Oh, yeah.
over the last
Years
couple of years.
ago, oh my goodness. So my mom was still alive. So this was probably the late 1990s. I had gone to Jim Fargiano when he first started. He was only, aware of his gift for a very few years at this time. And I'm sitting with him, and I knew him from when he had the stationery store. So this was like a whole new thing to see him in this light of him blossoming. And he's sitting there, and it was really funny. And he said, "Your dad passed." I said, "Yes." He said, "Quite a while ago." I said, "Yep." He said, "Oh my goodness, I see him standing with a top hat and a cane, and he's dancing." And my father, when they would go to very big affairs, because he was in the union, they would do things like at the Waldorf Astoria. That's how he would dress. And he said, "Well, he's dancing." He said, "But your mom's still here." And I said, "Yes, mom's still here." He said, "Well, he told her he wants to dance with her. Please don't hurry."
Yes,
And he
take your
said it like
time,
that.
take your
"Please
time."
don't hurry." Because he had peace where he is,
Well,
and
this
when
is the
she
fun
got
part.
there, she was going to finish up with
Yes,
him what she had to finish up. But just the interesting messages.
But again, it's funny because we all have one person in our lives who really brought the hardest lessons, the biggest, the largest pain of all.
Right. And that's when people will say to you, "I could not have chosen that mate, that parent, that boss." Yes, you did.
Of course you did. Because let's face it, in life, did you ever learn anything but through difficulty? The big lessons we're not talking about math. We're talking
Right.
about the big lessons
Your life.
that actually said, oh my God, I'm a changed person. If that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be who I am today. That is adversity. That's how we grow.
And you're not a failure. It's not failures, it's lessons.
Yes,
And so many
yes.
people will mistakenly think that marriage or that, "Oh, I failed. I was married this many times." Not a failure. It was lessons. You learned. What did you learn from that relationship? What did you learn from that chapter in your book? What
And
did you
most
learn?
people tend to go around that chapter again. And then they'll come and they'll say to me, I don't know, what about me all the time? The same thing, the same thing. It's like, there's someone up there who says, we're looking out for you. So when you went through this first, the trauma, the traumatic event, and you recognize who the perpetrator was, because they're your best friend back home.
Yeah.
When you go back home, you say, out of the way, everybody. See that so-and-so over there? Let me give him a hug because I learned so much just from that initial slice and dice. And then they will come and they'll say, of course, that the next person, they thought, no, this is a different personality. But somewhere in there, they knew, not quite, and it ended up in the same way.
Yeah.
And they're saying, I don't know, there must be something over me that I cannot, no.
It's
you're
not, you
just-
can't. You're
choosing.
choosing. You're
Thank you.
choosing to learn to do the lesson again and again. And a
Yes.
friend that I hadn't seen, he was at my naming ceremony, and I do hope he sees this because your words are just. I know they're going to resonate very deeply for him. At the vibration of these words, as he's doing a lot of traveling, so we went out. We grabbed a bite to eat the other night, and he is one of the most gentle souls you could ever come across. He does the work, and he's a massage therapist. So when he's doing massage, all this beautiful energy, he loves being in the energy. And how did he put it to me the other day? Phoenix, how come I always attract these wounded butterflies?
Oh,
The women in
interesting,
his life.
Oh,
Because when we
this is his
first met,
personal life and
Yes,
not his
yes.
massage therapy.
and it's
okay.
also, I'm sure, and he does beautiful healing work as a massage therapist. And when we first met, the lovely woman that he was in a relationship with at the time was very wounded. She was in a very dangerous thing. And their relationship, we were all hoping that she would run off into the sunset with him, but things did not work out that way. And he came back from where he was living, and he was out here for a bit. He'll be back and forth. And and again, we were talking about relationships, and he said, and here I did it again. And I said,
And he's in the know.
I said, and so have you learned that these are women that all look a bit different, but it's, do you want to be the one that takes care of the wounded butterflies? Do you feel that that's fulfilling your purpose here? Or have you learned a lesson, and are you ready to move to something different? Not better or worse, something different. Or do you feel, go within, do you still need to learn more about why you have this piece in this type of relationship?
The strange thing is, the person he's calling the wounded butterfly
Is him.
Thank you. This is the thing.
Did you hear it, my dear friend?
There's a reflection. There's a reflection. Because we do tend to think, oh, look what they did to me, and I did everything I could for them. But
And
there's a
he
sense
doesn't
of,
do that. It's interesting.
no,
'cause
no, it's not
He
even.
doesn't take the place of a victim.
But he is taking the place of the one who takes care of, the caretaker.
Yes.
And that's where the ego comes in there. I hate to say it like that. Ego
does.
comes in.
And ego is a big teacher of lessons.
Oh, of course.
You know, especially when it bites you in the hiney.
Yes, because there's no ego here.
Oh, oh.
As soon as the one who says that, oh, no
You
ego here, oh dear.
You know, what I do Monday through Friday, you know, someone had said to me when I first took the job 9 years ago, you're only going to be there a short time, part-time, temporary. I said, well, it's part-time, but it's supposed to be like for as long as many years as I want to stay. And they said, no, no, no. And it was like, obviously, that wasn't, the lesson wasn't
That
there.
was not.
And I come across personalities that keep it green for me.
Okay, keep it green.
They keep it green. It's like, okay, for me, a lot in this lifetime is learning, don't judge things. You know, 'cause as physical beings, we're very much into judgment. And
Yes.
Surya and I learned this
Yes.
a long time ago. We would say to each other, oh my God, listen to my mouth and my mind. I'm judging that person is this. Why is she wearing that dress? Oh, look at how long her nails are. Doesn't even have to be something wicked and mean. It's judgment. And who am I to judge this other soul? So we would say, you know, you can't always wear a rubber band. So we made this thing. It's like when we hear each other doing it, we're going to say, the sky is blue.
Okay, you
Something
got the message.
very nice and gentle.
Yeah.
You know, so the last time we did it was quite a while ago, walking out of a library. And one of us, or both of us at the same time, were doing a judgment thing. And it wasn't a vision. It was, we looked at each other at the same time. We said, the sky is blue. Because you start to catch yourself in like, what right do I have to judge someone else's journey?
Well, you know, that's a sort of defensive mode. It's being on defense all the time.
Yeah.
Before they say something about you, you're going to be the one that throws it in there, even though you're not talking to them and they never hear it. There's just a sense of, oh, you know, before anyone routes it back to you that, oh, did you what she said about you? You're saying, well, I said that about her before. She must have heard it, and she's just, you know, parroting it back.
Yeah.
So it is a defense mechanism, and I think that we a lot of times live in defense mode.
And it's a very strange, not strange, it's a very interesting society. You know, and we come across, thankfully, we come across our family of heart and family of like mind, you know, that we can be part of the community of our comfort from remembering each other from before and before and before. And for me, that's so comforting to know that I have my spirit family with me. Whether it's you sitting with me here in our vehicles in the physical, or knowing that Scott and Ronald Boyd and my parents and my two precious cousins that had crossed over, Scott and Mitchell, that everybody rallies round.
They graduated. And we're still
And my
learning the
cousins
lessons.
graduated very, very young.
Yes.
You know, I didn't even know that my cousin Scott, I hadn't seen him in a long time. He moved to the West Coast, and this was like 2002 or 2000, right around there. It was my aunt's 90th birthday, and she passed. My mom passed at 94, and that aunt her 90th, she passed at 101, so she was around 11 more years.
So you're going to be around for a bit too, do you
I
think?
guess so.
Yes.
So my Scott was there with me, and then in walks my cousin Scott that I hadn't seen in forever, and we were like this when we were children. And I ran and I leapt up into my cousin's arms, and he's like a short-haired Jason Momoa. The sign out there made me remember Jason Momoa. Very handsome cousins. And my Scott said to me, "The two of you are so connected. If you didn't tell me that that was your cousin, I would swear that was the love of your life." And I said, "In a way, he is the love of my
And
life."
he may have been in previous incarnations.
Yes, because these two cousins, the two brothers, they lived in the Bronx. We lived in Kew Garden Hills, so it was a distance. My parents didn't drive. But when we would get together, you couldn't separate us. It's almost as if we lived to see one another. That was like the next moment, the
You
next
fit
hyper.
together. That's the yin yang. That's what we were talking about earlier. When someone is just out of the way, this is it. That's the beautiful connection. When there's a yin and a yang.
Yeah.
And the energy just there's no fighting anything.
Oh no,
There's just
with these two
embracing of the
cousins,
way.
it was just amazing. And we have about 5 minutes left, and I haven't yet asked you to please share how people get in touch with you.
Well, actually, right now, as you know, I don't have an office at the moment because I'm
Right.
still looking. My old office was sold. The building was sold, so
Yeah.
rather disappointed there after 20 years. But my phone number is 631-388-3239. That's my cell. And I have a landline, so I'll be 631-732-6749. And that's the best way right now to
Right.
get in touch. And
And you don't have to leave her your last name. Please don't.
oh, no, don't. No, I don't.
Please don't.
You can call yourself Jim if you're actually Shirley. Doesn't make
It
any difference.
doesn't-
It's for the book. I don't
Right.
like to have any sort of connection to any last name
Right.
because then I know nothing. And
Right.
that's the best
And
way
when
to
I
be.
first met you years ago, that's what you said to me.
Yes.
I don't want to know your last name.
No, just give me the first one.
That's
That's it. Just to write in my book. That's basically what I
And
do.
to take up the
Yes,
space.
yes, that's it.
That's all it is. So briefly, we'll also, when you get vibrations and messages, it doesn't always come from a two-legged individual. It
Oh, not
comes
at all.
from
Yes,
four-leggeds. It
yes,
comes from birds on the wing. You know, so take a look around, you know, where there are feathers appearing from you. You know, when I had that trauma in 2019 in October, and I was brought over to Louise Abbott Ball at the North Shore Horse Rescue, Dan, this amazing horse, did the healing work on me.
Oh, sure.
And he
sure.
took me out. My
beautiful
body, I
animals.
folded over in half, and he was a biter, they told me. So it was like, really?
Well,
But
he
I
didn't
trusted.
do that to you.
No, he didn't. And I trusted Louise perfectly. She took him off of his harness, off the bridle, everything, and he was roaming, and I just sat there on this bale of hay, and the next thing I knew, I was being brought back, and I was out for well over an hour,
Oh, wonderful.
and my arm was up in the air
That happens.
in his mouth.
Yes. No, but it actually happens when you're.
Well, that
your
happened
limbs
to
will
me
rise
with spirit,
sometimes.
yes.
Yes.
But
yeah.
the horse, Dan knew this vibration was coming through in the form of a phone call. And the girls that brought me there, Diane and Surya, were on the other side of the paddock fence. And my son David was calling to give us information on Bruce. And however it works, Dan, this precious horse, was given the information, and it was time for me to come back. So didn't bite me, but he put his mouth and lifted my arm and just put a little pressure on my arm. And when I looked up, it was like, my arm is in his mouth and he's not biting me. But he had laid his face down on the back of my heart chakra.
Beautiful.
He pushed me back and he put his face here. And I was 100% out of this physical body during this.
Absolutely.
And they tell me it was amazing to observe.
Watch. Yes.
I said where I was amazing. I was surrounded by these horse spirits that was beyond my wildest dreams.
Well, we're all spirit together, and that includes the animals too.
Yes, it
Absolutely.
does.
And there's no difference in the fact that you know, people say, well, but they're animals.
They're just,
No, I
it's
think
just
that-
an animal.
But I actually think, and I do believe that they're a higher evolved
Yeah.
species, because there's not that cruelty. that comes in
Right.
to the degree they whatever they have to do to survive, of course, but they don't, as humans do, stockpile and
And
kill,
get
kill another
revenge.
one, and that type of thing. No, so there's a lot of lessons that we
Tremendous
learn
lessons.
through connection with animals.
And I love their
Absolutely.
expressions, as they come into our lives and as they go through their journey and as they leave. I mean, I still have, my pretty package with Lolita's ashes right at the foot of my bed,
So many ashes.
and I have many other ashes, all around the cottage. And they are just parts of the reminder of my beloveds being with me. So we're getting ready to say au revoir to these lovely people.
Sounds wonderful. It was very nice being here
It was
today.
wonderful.
Yes, and I met some nice new fellows here too. Very
Yes.
nice people.
Yeah,
Very nice.
the production staff here
Yeah,
is amazing.
wonderful.
They always make me feel very much at home. And I'm going to have to make them homemade goodies next time I come back.
They'll hold
Definitely.
you to that one as
Yes,
well.
they definitely will. So I would like to thank everyone for watching and supporting the show. And if you would like to be a guest or you know of someone that would be an interesting guest, please contact me. The office is 631-591-2056. And any last minute words, thoughts, gems that fall
Oh, I
from
don't know
you?
about gems falling from me. No, I really just feel that we're just on that cusp right now of absolutely breaking through. So many people have got that sort of sense of something big's coming, and
And
we're
it's
breaking
good.
through and breaking out of the shells that we have pulled around ourselves, and we're standing up to be counted now.
Yes.
And I think it's definitely a lighter society we need.
Yeah.
We need to show our light more.
We do. So shine your light brightly. Take off your shoes and stand on Mother Earth, whether it's at your home, at the beach, in the woods, in the forest, and make that connection.
Grounding.
And feel your energy lines going down, all the way down through the many layers of Mother Earth, connecting with her lapis blue heart, and feel your crown opening up to Father Sky. May you all be blessed. Love, light, and blessings to you all. Namaste.